What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Happy Friday to you all, and welcome to another live beer review. Today, we're going to be taking a look at another beer from probably, I would say they're probably one of my favorite Illinois breweries. I've had quite a good amount of their beers already, and I've had nothing but great things to say about them. We got another one from Imperial Oak today. They have two locations, one in Willow Springs and then one in Brookfield, which is kind of heading towards downtown Chicago and all that kind of stuff. But these guys specialize in a lot of really cool styles. Of course, their biggest one being barrel aging, of course, is one of their main focal points when it comes to either on the Savage Oak side with barrel aging sours, or on just the regular Imperial Oak side where they like to make a lot of Barleywine stouts and just making a lot of nice, really cool barrel aged beers. And today we got another barrel aged one from them, which is their Lord Humongous, their barrel aged Lord Humongous, and it's aged 1 year in Bourbon EX honey barrels. So I'm expecting it's like a honey bourbon kind of situation. So I'm really curious to see what that honey kind of style of that bourbon is going to do to the flavor of this one, because barley wines are definitely, well, I would say they're become one of my favorite styles of like a darker, heavier beer, just because you get the sweetness, you get the booziness, because most likely a barley wine's going to have barrel aging properties to it, or they're going to have it sit in the barrel age for a while. And this one was aged a year, so this beer was brewed more than a year ago, and now we're going to be able to experience it, which that's also, I always love that when something is aged a year, because there's so much complexity that can happen with it sitting in the barrel and all that kind of stuff. So I'm expecting some really nice sweetness coming from this one, with it being a honey bourbon, maybe adding a little bit more sweetness. Barley wines do tend to have a little bit more of a heavier kind of body to it. Definitely, I wouldn't say the mouthfeel is going to be thin or anything like that. Usually it's a pretty heavy, kind of almost silky / velvety kind of mouthfeel to a barley wine. Of course, there's usually a very heavy, like barley heavy, like malty sweetness coming from it. Of course, you may get hints of like dates, plums, all that kind of stuff, just because some of the flavors that those bring out, because a lot of the times you'll maybe get smokiness and stuff from the bourbon as well, and you might get some like woodsy, bourbony flavors as well, because a lot of the times when they're aging something in a barrel, that you're going to get a good amount of flavor coming from that aging process and everything too. So this one comes in at 11.5% ABV, I believe. Yeah, 11.5% ABV out of a little 12-ounce can. So I'm pretty excited to give this one a try. I've always been a really big fan of Imperial Oak's barrel-aged beers, and I know they're at like FOBAB usually, so the festival for barrel-aged beers and all that kind of stuff. So if you ever want to check some stuff out from Imperial Oak, I know they don't really do a lot of distribution. A lot of the times, where I've been able to pick up their beers is when either me or my dad goes to pick it up at the brewery itself. I haven't really seen a lot of distribution when it comes to stuff from Imperial Oak. So, hoping that could change. I would love to see Imperial Oak show up in Tavour, because I think they would blow the hell up if that happens. So, but I think it's time for us to crack this thing open and see what this thing's all about. So, let's see. Let's see what we get on the nose with this guy. Oh yeah, definitely getting a bourbon kind of note, almost like an oaky, smoky kind of on the nose. There we go. There's definitely a sweetness. Coming through. Almost has a little bit of like chocolatey notes, but definitely getting that almost like very malty, almost boozy sweetness that's gonna definitely come through on it. And yeah, this smells absolutely fantastic. So I'm super excited. And I'm going to be drinking this out of my untapped little tulip glass this afternoon. Let's see how this thing pours. I'm assuming it's going to be pretty close to black. It's a barley wine, so there may be like almost a purplish kind of reddish hue to it. But it's almost going to be the color of an Imperial Stout, just because that's how dark barley wines tend to be. So let's pour this guy and see what this thing's all about. Oh yeah, almost has like the color of caramel kind of pour. And definitely have those brown notes coming through. Maybe a little bit of a little reddish. Look at that. That just looks absolutely fantastic. Definitely, on the pour, seems a little bit more effervescent than I thought it would, but you're definitely getting those almost like reddish or purplish kind of hues to it. Has a really nice color to it. Really big predominant booziness from this, which I can appreciate, especially from a good barrel-aged barley wine. Booziness, getting that bourbon kind of flavor hit you on the nose, knowing that it's more of like a strong alcohol kind of smell. I mean, if you're a fan of bourbon, I feel like bourbon-aged beers are right up your alley, just because it just brings off so many good like flavors that the bourbon usually makes within the barrel. Of course, the smokiness from the char on the inside of the barrel. You get the oakiness from the wood itself, and all the flavors of the bourbon itself that got soaked into the wood that are released into this beer, and I think it's an absolutely fantastic process. So let's give this guy a little try and see what it's all about. So cheers, everybody. Happy Friday. Oh yeah, it's actually lighter on flavor than I thought it would, just because you're definitely getting, the first thing you're going to get is that bourbon is really come and hit you in the front. Almost has flavors of like you're sipping on a glass of bourbon, I'm going to be completely honest. Definitely has more of a heavier mouthfeel. Definitely, I wouldn't say it's velvety. It's almost like a mixture of like slightly medium to heavy body. And then definitely there's a sweetness coming through. I would say it's more in the medium body kind of realm. I mean, there is like a silky / velvety mouthfeel to it, but it's not it's not very predominant in that kind of mouthfeel. I'm definitely getting that almost medium kind of mouthfeel to where it's like not really too velvety, but still a little bit of velvetiness. Not too thin, but still a little bit of thinness. It's right in that center point of being a low kind of body, low medium body to like that higher kind of body realm. And I think it's really, really nice. Definitely drinks like a barrel-aged barley wine. That's for damn sure. It's feel the warmth going through, getting some sweetness coming through. Not as much sweetness as I thought there would be, but it's still an absolutely fantastic beer. So I am really, really enjoying this one for sure. So let's look over here at Untappd. And of course, a lot of the times when it comes to barrel-aged beers, each one's going to be a little bit different just because every brewery kind of plays around with when it comes to how they barrel-age something, when it comes to it aging at a certain temperature in different environments and all that kind of stuff. Plus, the amount of time that they're in the barrel always plays in as a factor. So let's try to see if we can find a similar beer to this one. Of course, if I'm looking for a similar beer, I'm always going to look for, because this is specifically a honey bourbon kind of barrel-aged beer, so I'm going to definitely look for to see if there's any kind of honey notes in it, of course. But then if maybe any of these other beers that I'm showing on the similar beers list is going to be having aged in honey bourbon barrels, of course, I'm going to look for maybe a beer that's aged a year. That's going to be something as well to kind of get those similar flavor notes and all that stuff, because by how much time it sits in that barrel really, really factors in how much of those flavors you're going to get. And trying to find something that has a similar experience to this, that's what you're going to want. You're going to want to find another beer that has at least been 1 year aged in a barrel. So let's look here. So we got one here from Cypress Creek Southern Ales, which is their Operation Neptune D-Day. It's a 16% American barley wine. Let's see here. It's talking about kind of what it's inspired after D-Day, going off northern France and all that stuff. Let's see. Commemorating the inception of Cypress Creek. Let's see. I'm trying to see if it says how long it was aged. It doesn't really say here, so I'm not 100% sure I would choose this one. I like the idea. It's a 16% barley wine, which is definitely going to be stronger than this. Let's see what else here. We got one from Hill Farmstead Brewery, which is their Double Barrel Aaron, which is American barley wine, 14%. Let's see. So this is aged over 2 years, so this is going to be a little bit stronger. So maybe have similar notes to it. Let's see. We got one here from Barreled Souls Brewing Company, which is their Double Barrel Aged Big Bang, which is an 18.1% American barley wine, and aged in Woodward Reserve bourbon barrels for under a year. So maybe, of course, I think this one's going to be a little bit more boozy, because then it's aged in Booker's bourbon barrels for 23 months. So that's over 2 years in that one. So that's a lot of aging with that one. So 18.1%, that's definitely going to be a lot more heft to it. And let's see, we got one here from Brethren Brewing Company, which is the Lord of the Harvest, which is a 12.3. Let's see. Oh, so they even talked about the gravity here. So their gravity on there has got a 1.012 from it finished at a 1.012 from a 1.104. So it's fruity, malty, and complex, this beer, for the ages. Doesn't really say how long it was aged for, but it's I can see maybe it being around a year, because it's in that similar kind of ABV realm, maybe with that 12.3 being there. So that's an option. And then we got one here from SJ Brewing Company, which is the Blackout Ahead aged in bourbon spirals. So it's an American barley wine, 11.6. So Yeah, maybe that one too. These ones definitely have smaller ratings, but SJ Brewing Company is located in Yule Heights, Florida. And then the other one I'm probably going to suggest to be the most similar is going to be this one from Brethren Brewing Company, which is located in that's in Canada. Oh shit. Okay, so that's Manteca, Canada, I believe. So having a Canadian brewery show up here. So I'm gonna actually pick both of these. I'm gonna pick this one from Brethren Brewing Company for Canadian people to try something that's a little bit more similar to this. So you can have this one from the Lord of the Harvest from Brethren, or maybe this Blackout Ahead aged in bourbon spirals is going to be pretty similar. It's definitely going to have a little bit more of a higher IBU, I think, because this one is rated for 89 IBUs when looks like it doesn't have an IBU rating on this one, but I don't think this one really has a predominant bitterness to it when it comes to hoppiness. But yeah, I think if I had to choose one specific one that's probably going to be most similar, I'm going to probably pick this Lord of the Harvest from Brethren Brewing Company to be most similar. This SJ one may have a little bit more of a bitterness to it. It's definitely going to be a little bit more dry. But I think the other three ones from like Cypress Creek, Hill Farmstead, and then Barreled Souls is just going to be a little bit heavier. There's going to be a little bit more booziness, so I'm not really consider those two. I think I'm going to go with this Lord of the Harvest to be the most similar. Of course, if you're in Canada, you may have a better chance of getting your hands on this one, but when it comes to finding a good barrel-aged barley wine in the States, that's definitely a little bit more special. There are definitely more breweries that are specialized in that kind of thing. I know, of course, Firestone Walker, you can probably find a barley wine. And, of course, that can be pretty similar to this one from, like, the Sticky Monkey and all that kind of stuff. But I'm trying to think of other breweries that do barley wines. Of course, Anchorage Brewing Company. So if you're on the West Coast, you have the option of Firestone Walker and Anchorage kind of showing up. But the Anchorage stuff is definitely a very, very limited release, even though when Firestone Walker does it on like a higher demand kind of situation to where they're able to have a lot more beers aging at a time, other than like how Anchorage would do it where they have smaller batches and smaller releases for like a barrel-aged barley wine and all that kind of stuff. But those two breweries are probably going to be the most easiest to find within the States for a beer like this. I'm trying to think of another brewery that would do like a barley wine. Of course, Detroit Theory's done some barley wines. So there's a bunch of breweries. I guess there are a good amount of breweries coming out with barley wines. They usually start coming out within the winter months, so most likely right now, unless it's a brewery that specializes in barrel aging beers and all that kind of stuff. Stone's Old Guardian is good. You don't like Stone, Face Meat? I'm curious why you don't like Stone. So we should talk about that one time, because I've never had bad experience with Stone's beers. So I want to see what your thoughts are with something from Stone. So let's see here. Yeah, finding a like right now may be a little bit difficult to try to find a barrel-aged barley wine, just because maybe the breweries are kind of holding on to it if they're aging them right now to start coming out within the colder months. So, but right now I know Imperial Oak definitely has a barley wine available, so if you want to go over there and try some stuff from Imperial Oak, possibly see if you can get this one still to go for this Lord Humongous and the honey barrels. Yeah, this might be still available over there. You just got to go over to Imperial Oak's one of their two locations and see what they got. I've never been disappointed with the beer I've had from them when it comes to barrel-aged stouts, barrel-aged barley wines, you name it. I've had a really, really good experience from stuff from Imperial Oak. So let's look here up at the ratings and stuff and see what we have to say. Before we start seeing anybody, my friends, let's check this one in, or the global rating. Let's see here. Like I stated before, it's 11.5% ABV, so I would definitely not consider this sessionable. Anything within it being considered a barley wine most likely will not be a sessionable beer. This is one that you're going to sit down and want to sip and enjoy, and just this really has no sessionability factor to any kind of barley wine in my head, at least. So 11.5, not sessionable whatsoever. And this one looks like it was a smaller release because there's only 27 ratings on this one. I think maybe that most of the people that drank this one most likely checked it in under the regular Lord Humongous. So maybe more ratings over there. But with this honey barrel aged Lord Humongous, it only has 27 ratings. So only 27 people have checked this one in, and has an average rating of 4.03 out of 5, which that just tells you for what it is right there. The lower amount of people still having that high of an average of above a 4. You know a lot of people are liking this when they check this one in. So let's look here on my friends list. Of course, I knew there was probably going to be only one just because my father's the one that actually went over to the Imperial Oak Brewing Brookfield location and picked the stuff up for us. So he tried it. He gave it a 4.25 out of 5 purchased location at the Imperial Oak Brewing Brookfield location. So maybe that might be the location you can find it now. Who knows? I've seen check-ins of people doing their purchase in the Willow Springs location. So there's two options. They may still have this one available over in both locations. So if you're in the Illinois area or anywhere near Willow Springs or Brookfield and want to try a nice bourbon barrel-aged barley wine, you might still be able to get your hands on this one over at each location. So, but let's look here at the global ratings and see what other people have to say. So right here, somebody gave it a 4.25. Purchased at Imperial Oak in Willow Springs. Let's see what else we got here. We got a 4 out of 5. Another 4. This person gave it a 3.75, which is very, very interesting. So what he said is a little thin, not real sweet. From last night, fell asleep while starting to check it in, even after being left out a couple hours. Tasted nice. So most likely, what he was talking about with a little thin, not too sweet, if he left this out overnight, it's most likely not as carbonated and not really kind of, I don't want to say watered down, but kind of just all the carbonation out of it that would give it that maybe a bit like a heavier body to it. Like how I'm getting the medium kind of body to it. It may have flattened out, so maybe that's why it tastes a little thin to him, and the sweetness might have gone away because the sweetness kind of comes out with a little bit of carbonation coming through. But so, kind of sucks that he fell asleep while drinking it and he just started drinking the next morning. I think that's kind of funny, but he gave it a 3.75. And of course, let's look here. We got another 4 out of 5. We got another 4 saying the barrel's first held bourbon, then aged honey in them with notes of oak and vanilla. So yeah, he's just kind of giving off description of what they did with the barrels and all that kind of steam. But yeah, getting definitely hints of the wood and the oak and all that kind of stuff. Getting the smokiness. Not really, to me, not get much of notes of vanilla to it, even though some of those vanilla flavors could be coming from the actual barrels itself as well, because they do give a little bit of hints of vanilla sometimes. But he gave it a 4 out of 5, purchased at the Willow Springs location. Let's see. This person gave it a full 5 out of 5, just saying yes, 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 number 24. So I wonder if did they number the cans? I'm curious what kind of number I got. So if he got can number 24, let's see if I can find and see if there's anything on mine. I don't see a number on it. That's kind of disappointing. Where did he get number 24? Or maybe it might be number 24 of beers that he's had within Untapped. I don't know. But yeah, it doesn't really say like what number in the series it is. Oh well, doesn't really bother me. But yeah, he gave it a full 5 out of 5, so he liked it. Let's do 2 more here. This person gave it a 4 out of 5, and the last one we're going to look at is a 3.75. Looks like, is he drinking it at Imperial Oak? Yeah, it looks like he is. That looks like it's at the Imperial Oak location. Looks like they brought in some White Castle, and they're just eating sliders while drinking some barrel-aged beer, which I think is pretty funny. But yeah, overall, really good ratings, even though for like the smaller amount of check-ins that it had. Really, Stones, wow. They sold to Sapporo. That's something I didn't know. Interesting. Very, very interesting. A Japanese brewery. Sapporo freaking buying Stone. That's something that's very surprising. Well, that's good to know. Okay. Very, very interesting. I wonder if the availability for stuff for Stone is going to start kind of going overseas to like being availability in Asia or Japan or China, all that kind of stuff. But let's see here. With all that being said, I think it's time for us to start figuring out what we're going to be doing for our ratings on our end with this guy. So let me take a little more sips because this stuff's absolutely delicious. Oh yeah, that's good. That is very good. Yeah, but this is definitely a sipping beer, don't get me wrong. Not too predominantly boozy. So first thing we like to look at for our ratings on this guy is we're going to look at can art. And Imperial Oak does really some nice can art. They're not too crazy with complexity, even though there are some beers that their can art is really, really complex and all that kind of stuff and marketed really, really well. Of course, with this one being the barrel-aged Lord Humongous, they have Lord Humongous on the can. He's just a guy wearing a hat, drinking beer. Almost looks French, even though it's American barley wine. Then you see guys in tents in the background, like almost like knights and all that kind of stuff. Then you see like the stuff in the sky where it almost looks like it's storming. So you have a lightning strikes and lightning bolts and all that kind of stuff coming down. Almost looks like a burning castle. Actually, a previously burnt castle over there, if you see it right there. So there's definitely detail in this one. It almost reminds me of a drawing, too, which is really, really nice. So, yeah, of course, there's a lot of little details in this one that I actually really appreciate that they did in this one. Of course, with the tulip glass that he has, they actually have the Imperial Oak logo, which is right here on the glass itself. So, yeah, the little attention to detail with this one is really, really cool. Definitely something that would catch my attention at a liquor store or bottle shop, just because if I see anything from Imperial Oak, I'm most likely going to just stop and look at it to see what it is. But yeah, they let you know what kind of beer it is, all other stuff. They have the amount of detail. They kind of, with it being a 12-ounce can, they have a little bit less space, but they do take up a little bit more space to kind of give you some information, of course, saying it's Imperial Oak right there. It's part of their barrel age series. And then it's a Barleywine style ale. Then it gives you the location of where it's brewed at, all that kind of stuff. Willow Springs, Illinois, ABV, 12-ounce cans. So they still leave enough space to give you information. Of course, craft brewed in Illinois. So, yeah, really nice. Really like the label. Really like that they give off the information, letting you know it's in their barrel age series. So overall, I'm going to give this a solid 4.5 out of 5 for can art. I like it. Definitely really like it. So, let's see here. If I got this beer in a flight over at Imperial Oak Brewing Company, would I get another one? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's absolutely fantastic. It has the medium body. It's not too boozy. It still has that right. Greg Koch screamed the loudest about hating corporate beer, then sells the Sapporo to 100. Wow. Yeah, that's kind of bogus. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that. If somebody's like praising themselves over not supporting big beer and then kind of sells their company to big beer, even though for a shit ton of money, it's like, I understand maybe like if we were put in the situation where either we open a brewery or something and then got a tremendous amount of money offered to us to sell the brewery to a bigger corporation, I'd maybe think about it. I'll be completely honest. It's like sometimes when it comes to having a bunch of money to support your family and all that kind of stuff to get you set, you may have to kind of bite your tongue on dignity a little bit and try to think about other things. I don't know. I don't know the situation that Greg was in when he purchased, well, when Stone was purchased and all that kind of stuff, so I can't really speak for that. But that does suck. That definitely does suck. Hold on a sec. My dog wants to get down. Come on. Let's go. Hold on. Let me open the door. That one. One of the downfalls about having your dog in here when you're doing a review, she wants to get out, you have to open the door and let her out. So, what was I saying? I've got this in a flight. Would I get another one? 100% yes. I'd probably see if I can get a 4-pack if it's sold in 4-packs, because a lot of times when Imperial Oak does these kind of beers to go, so they usually do them in 2-packs, which I can understand. Of course, they're a little bit more expensive. Yeah, I hear you, Face Me. It's just like, I guess we have to think about the situation he was in. Maybe he found to where he needed the money. Maybe Stone wasn't doing as good as we thought it would, even though it's available everywhere within the United States. And I know, being a hypocrite sometimes when it comes to integrity that you created for yourselves, and when it comes to a lot of money offered to you, you kind of have to think about, would you do the same thing? Would you think about it as you're a hypocrite if you got offered a shit ton of money if you had a brewery and everything? So I don't know what I would do in that situation, if I would kind of stand by my morals and all that kind of stuff. I guess it's just how you kind of stick with how you feel about things. I don't know. I wouldn't know the situation, but let's see here. With all that being said, what is my final rating on this guy going to be? Oh, let's see here. I'm going to give this a solid between 8.5 and 8.75. I really, really do enjoy this one. Of course, my barley wines, I may like it a little bit sweeter, but definitely the booziness is very, very nice. There's a good amount of sweetness, even though I like mine having a little bit more of that plummy kind of date kind of sweetness to it. I think Imperial Oak did an absolutely fantastic job with this one. I was surprised that it wasn't very, very sweet due to it being like a honey barrel aged kind of situation. So knowing that it's not too sweet, don't really have to worry about it being overly sweet, which is really, really good. So overall, I think this one was really, really well done. So big shout outs to Imperial Oak for coming out with this one. I think they did another absolutely phenomenal job with another barrel aged beer. So yeah, I think 8.75 is where I'm going to leave this one. Absolutely fantastic. So let's see here. Other than that, I think that's pretty much what I got for you guys today. So before I start doing my sign-ups and everything, of course, we got a little giveaway to do from the Patreons over here. So, of course, every month I do a monthly 4-pack giveaway when it comes to Illinois exclusive craft beer. So what I'm going to start doing now, I used to post pictures on the Patreon and Instagram and all that kind of stuff just to kind of give people an idea of what they have the chance to win so they can just sit and have their fingers crossed or anything like that. But I decided that I want to leave it a little bit of surprise. So I'm still going to be doing the drawings, everything once per month, but I'm going to make sure I'm not going to post any pictures or anything like that. I want everybody who's going to be receiving a 4-pack to be absolutely surprised on what they're going to be receiving. So only I am going to know what you receive. So I think that's going to be a nice little touch so everybody doesn't know, like, oh, I'm ready to drink this one. No, you're going to be, the only way you're going to be hyped about drinking is when you're open that box and find the 4 beers that I offered you. So let's go over here to random.org. Of course, I have every Patreon member in here. Of course, if depending on the higher tier you join, you have a better chance of winning due to, like, if you join the $10 tier, you have 2 entries into the raffle, and then if you join the $20 tier, you have 3 entries into the raffle. But if you join the $5 tier, you only have 1 entry into it. So I got all the list people down for it on the random.org page. So what I do is I randomize it 3 times, then on the third randomize, the person at the top is going to be the winner. So let's do the first one here. Let's do bam, first randomize, and then let's do it again, and then the final one is where we're going to have the winner. So let's find out who's going to be winning August 4-pack of the month, which is going to be Mr. Face Meat, of course. I'm going to be honest here. It was Lee, but Lee told me will be when he won the last one that if he wins it again this month, just to give it to somebody else. So Face Meat is number 2 after Lee. So Face Meat is going to be winning August's 4-pack. So Mr. Face Meat, get a hold of me on either kind of social media when it comes to either Discord or something. Send me your address and all that kind of stuff, and we will get everything squared away. So yeah, you are going to be winning a nice 4-pack of Illinois exclusive craft beer. So congratulations, Face Meat. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what you think about some of the stuff that's in there. But let's see. Other than that, yeah, I think that's pretty much what I have for you guys today. So thank you everybody in chat for hanging out. You guys are awesome. If you haven't yet, please hit that like button. It helped me out a lot. Also, if you're new to the channel and like what you see, make sure that subscribe button along with that notification bell. It'll let you know whenever I go live to another review. Plus, you can give me a follow on all my other social media platforms when it comes to seeing what I'm going to be reviewing on Instagram. Of course, I need to kind of do a little bit of better job on Instagram of kind of giving a little bit of story updates of what we're doing at the brewery over at Fibs. I know, just kind of when I'm at work, I kind of want to just focus on getting that stuff done. I kind of need to start giving little people a little bit of a show and tell of what happens behind the scenes. So, but yeah, if you want to shoot me a follow on my Instagram, that's what you'll see what I'm be reviewing daily and all that kind of stuff whenever I'm able to do reviews. Of course, you can always shoot me a friend request on Untapped as well. You guys hear me talk about Untapped all the time. It's a fantastic platform. You get to check in beers, get badges, all that kind of stuff. I like to call it Facebook for beer drinkers. It's pretty much what it is. And then last but not least, if you just saw what I did here with the Patreon giveaway, I do have a Patreon available for people who would want to support me. That's going to be the best way to do so. So you can join the Patreon, and then you'll have your entry, depending on what tier you join the Patreon, of how many entries you get into the monthly beer giveaway. And then, of course, once a little bit more traffic starts coming through the Patreon, I'll get a Discord started and possibly working on merch, glassware, all the kind of stuff, coasters, koozies. I have a lot of stuff in the head. We just need a little bit more traffic on the Patreon to get things moving a little bit. So if you have any friends who are looking to kind of support some craft beer content creators, show them me and see what they think. Of course, let them know I have a Patreon available if they want to get the opportunity to win some stuff. But other than that, I think that is pretty much, again, what I have for you guys today. So, again, thank you, everybody in chat, for hanging out. You guys are awesome. Thank you, everybody who's going to be watching on the replay as well. And I'm going to end this like I always do before we get the hell out of here. If you're going to drink responsibly. Don't drink and drive. And I'll see you all next time. Cheers.